It's Crystal Blackwell at Crystal Clear Moments. I am super excited. Thank you for being here for my podcast. Guest today is O.D. Harris. This is when we're going to be asking O.D. questions about some of his crystal clear moments that's really helped shape his life, his legacy, where he's at. And, without further ado, let's just meet O.D. So before we start, what is O.D.? Like, what does that stand for? I never knew that.
It's just O.D. Just O.D. Harris.
So it's not like Odell. It's like Otis. No. It's just O.D. No. Okay, because I often have wondered that. But before I talk about O.D., I want to give you some background on just our relationship and how we met. So both of us are, active, community members within Chandler, the city that we live in. I live there, he lives there, but he's an actual a dignitary within Chandler. So we met, and it was interesting. Do you remember how we clicked initially?
Yep.
And it was like a weird miscommunication. But you know what? I have found that when you meet people and there's conflict and you work through conflict, you get this respect. And I think we got right away a respect for each other, and an understanding on how we work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So oftentimes people meet and everything is great, and then there's conflict and they fall apart. Well, you and I kind of bumped heads a little bit, not a bad thing. We just kept miscommunication. And we worked it out on the phone together. We fought it out. Like, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and ended up really becoming really good friends.
A crystal clear moment.
That was a crystal clear moment. Yeah.
And I think that is learning how to work with people through their differences.
Yes.
And learning how to get down to the 5%. Okay, how do we work through that issue? How do we then understand the issue? Because the reality is that you and I have two different lived experiences.
Absolutely.
And if we are leaning on our lived experiences, that means that there's things that you can do to unintentionally trigger me. And there's things I can do to you to unintentionally trigger you. So unless we understand each other's background, unless we're willing to have that conversation, that cup of coffee, then we can really push forth progress and really trying to get past everything else. But I think the most important thing is that relationship. That's why the word relationship, you have relate. You got to relate.
Got to connect.
In the ship. You got to relate in the ship.
That's almost like another word.
Right.
Relate in the.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's like that though, right?
Right.
Relate in the.
Right.
But no, I like how you spoke to that, that we do, relationships are, a big part of it. So I wanted to give people the background because I think oftentimes we paint a rosy setup, but we had a little situation. We ironed it out. Yeah. It was over. It's historic. It was never brought up again. Yeah. But now we're cool. We're friends, and I love that, and I respect you for that. That we were able to solve, to take a situation and solve a problem. And we kept it moving.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're supposed to be doing every day.
Yes.
But thank you for the opportunity to allow me to come into your life and to have some courageous conversations with you, and for you to be able to be willingness and openness. And I know in this game of life is that you're going to meet people. A lot of people have been hurt in their past, and a lot of people have experienced a lot of traumas, and they haven't recovered from those traumas. So the minute something happens and you're trying to enter a relationship, that trauma then re-triggers. Yep. And when that trauma re-triggers, it really has nothing to do with you. It has all to do with the fact that I'd never healed from that original trauma, and now I'm going to work through it.
Yes.
So when we're picking relationships and who we want to have a part of our relationship life, we then need to ask ourselves, are we ready for the relationship?
Yeah,
are we
good.
ready to take on what that looks like? Am I looking for a friend in this relationship, or am I looking for a husband or a wife, or am I looking for a business partner? Before you address any relationship, you need to ask yourself, what do I want from that relationship?
Right.
And how does that relationship serve me in my future endeavors, and how I can work together with that person?
Yeah,
so
I love that. That's like creating your own crystal clear moment, asking that question. So
it is.
So before we go even further, I really want to read your bio, because not all of it, because we're going to talk through some things, because I want people to get to know our vice mayor of Chandler, Arizona.
Do it.
But so, I pulled up your information, and you're all over social, you're all over everywhere. So it's easy to pull things up. And you know how you think you know people, But it's something about knowing someone's past really, again, helps shape who they are, but it helps shape how you view them. And I will tell you, OD, the first, I would say, paragraph of your bio just really warmed my heart. I mean, I knew you were a teddy bear type dude. Like, you're caring, you're loving. You have a big heart, that was the one thing that my husband and I always say that, you a good dude, but when I read that first paragraph, now I know why you're a good dude. It's always good to know the why. So I'll share that with everyone. Grew up in a loving family. That's obvious because you display that in all that you do, all that I've been able to be around. It's one of my
key values. Family is a very important key value.
Comes right up. You said your parents were married for 24 years before your father passed, which is a long time. You saw marriage.
Yes.
And sorry that.
My first example of what a real relationship looks like. My first example of what a husband looked like when he loves his wife, undoubtedly to her soul. My daddy loved my mother. That's awesome. He taught me how to love my wife. He was the first example of that. My dad never cheated on my mom. My dad has always been loyal to my mom. And when they got together, I seen real love. And I've always tried to be an imitator of his love.
That's a good one to imitate.
Yeah. And my mom said, oh, the boys in our family, they just love hard.
I love that. That is a beautiful gift that he left you.
Yeah.
So because then when your dad passed and when you were a teenager.
He did when I was 14 years old.
When he was 14 years old. And sorry about that, but he left you with just a legacy. And it's interesting. So we're taping this day after Father's Day. So, it's kind of a nice time to kind of honor, what he's left for you. He gave you this, he left a blueprint of what, a man should be, what a husband should be. And let me tell you, whenever you speak about your wife or speak of her, you light up. Like your eyes dance, you light up.
That's my ride or die.
Yeah, that's your girl.
She coming with me no matter what. Like
I know it.
Wherever we go, she's there, and she's. As somebody said, she makes it very clear: do not mess with her husband because she loves her husband.
Don't mess with him.
Isn't that what we need to get back to?
Yes.
Like those grounds of loyalty. I love you so much, girl. And no matter what comes your way, I don't care what they say about you. I love you so much that even if they said these horrible things about you, I'm going to love you. I'm going to repair you. I'm going to be your repair shop. Because every time I go out in the community, I'm getting beat up really bad. And when I come back in, I got somebody that knows how to repair me up, love me back into the place, get me back whole, get my mind back right. My wife is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me outside of my children. And awesome. I love her.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to start. What was your crystal clear moment when you knew, like, this is the one? Like, what happened?
I thought that, just to tell you guys, I met my wife at Walmart. Okay.
I remember you telling me that.
I met her at Walmart.
I'm not going to see you guys on TikTok and nothing and all that in Walmart.
No, you're not going to see that.
You don't have on pajamas.
Right. No, you're not going to see that. Although I did want Walmart to allow me to do something special for my wife in their house, but it was denied. I'll keep working on it. But I met my wife. I was in the midst of doing some back to school shopping. As you know, every year I give back. I'm a big person. I believe in philanthropy. So I was picking up like 300 school supplies to donate to a particular organization. My wife at the time, single father, had 2 kids already. My wife was there, and I was asking her about teenage items. My kids wasn't teenagers.
So was that your Mac?
That's how I got in.
That's how you got in.
I mean, she was a beautiful statue standing in Walmart.
Yes,
she made Walmart look better. I was like, your sales just increased.
She made Walmart look like Saks.
Thank you. Exactly. That's what she did. I like that. I'm going to use that too. But, I talked to her for 46 minutes.
And what kills me that it was 46 minutes. How'd you know it was 46 minutes? Was you like looking at your...
I did. I literally looked at my clock, and then I looked back at my clock. When we was done talking, I looked back at my clock. Because I always wanted to know if I knew in my head, if I'm rejected in 10 minutes, I knew that this is not the one for me.
So she gave you 46 minutes of her time. You knew you was in.
Oh, I thought I was in. I thought I was in. Well, it took 2 years to chase her down.
Yeah.
Like, that was a regular conversation chasing her. And my wife, she has standards. And she has never allowed me to subserviently go underneath her standards. I always have had to climb to get her standards. And even to this day, I'm still climbing to always reach the standard. And I think it's not, once you get married, it becomes like, is that, that 50-50 or 90-10 or however they look at relationships. I think at the end of the day, if I focus my energy on always making her happy, then she'll focus her energy on making me happy. Then there's no barrier of how far I should go, and there's no barrier to her or how far she's willing to go with me.
Yes,
so that's kind of how I approached the relationship. And, I chased her down. I got her to say yes. And we've been married now. This is going on our 4th year being married.
Yes, nice. Congratulations.
And I love her. She's great.
Yes, good.
She's great.
I love that. I love that. Love the love that you exude about her, but that's what you grew up around. That's what you know. So all you were doing is just replicating what your dad demonstrated for you. So then your dad was a veteran.
Yes.
A Vietnam veteran.
Yes,
so was my
was.
dad. My dad was he was in the Korean War.
Okay.
So, something about when you have a parent was in, the service, has served. And what I love about you is that's an important part of you, but it's just not the only part of you.
Yeah. So my dad, when he served, it was a replication for me to serve. And that replication then inspired, you think about a 14-year-old kid who only has his mother. My mom was a homemaker. It was 6 of us in the household plus some cousins. So you guys know out there, there's always some extra people living in the house.
And cousins, I don't know about you, but my cousins were my first best friends.
Oh yeah, for sure. We always had
cousins. Yeah, we always had cousins around. Like,
for sure.
And that was like your best friend were your cousins. You didn't have like outside people coming in. It was just your people.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you honestly, so once that ended up happening, then I understood that my assignment was to help lead the family. So my mom ended up having to go back to work. And so I came from a family. You guys, my dad was a blue collar worker, but I still had hand-me-down clothes.
Oh, yeah.
So everything I've had in life, I had to work and earn. And so when my father passed away, my mother had to go to work. Now imagine how the dynamic of the household is. And so I knew in order to be successful, I got tired of hand-me-down clothes. I got tired of, every now and again, I get something new, but I got tired of that. But I never forget the Boys and Girls Club gave me a Walkman set for Christmas. It's the only thing I wanted. And they got that for me. And I remember one Christmas, I got one puzzle, one gang puzzle. That's it. And I was so appreciative of it. And I learned something valuable in that. I know what it means not to have. And my mom said, well, you get everything you want in life, you'll never have no room to earn something in life. And so that was something that I needed to do. And no matter how hard it has gotten for me, and it has gotten hard for me sometimes, is that I just worked hard for it and I kept going. And that is really my story. It's a story of a person that continues to overcome all the challenges. And, my mom, she went back to work. I'm a middle child, even though I was the most favorite child, I always say that. But my mom said, stay focused on the mission at hand and keep loving people, keep serving people. That's what I've been doing.
And that is so who you are. First of all, thank you for sharing that part of you. Thank you for letting us in that space, because I think people only see, what they want to see for one, but they don't know like your makeup. Yeah. You just don't show up one day an individual. There's a building blocks, and those building blocks are your past experiences and your environment that you grew up in. And like you said, you went from this family, and then all of a sudden you're 14, which is a key age for boys. Yeah.
That's when we start liking
years.
girls.
Right. And dad's not there. So you had to do you had a crystal clear moment of, okay, the family dynamic has changed.
Yeah. I lost something when my dad died. I really did. I was trying to be in a search of mentors, and I was trying to cling on because I needed that extra boost in my life, and it was hard. And I grew up in a Pentecostal apostolic household, strict Christian household. I mean, it was totally different. I mean, even the fact if you go out to the movies, it was almost a judgmental of what movie did you go see? It was almost a crime. So we didn't really do a lot of playing cards and, all that dominoes and all that other stuff. We didn't do that for many years of my life. I remember growing up not having any of those things as a part of my life. And then boom, one day it showed up in my life like when I was like 11, 12 years old.
So how did you adapt to that? How did you go from that space? That's
well,
different.
it was kind of, to me, being a person of faith, because I thought that these were the things that people of faith do. To me trying to be a good person and always trying to strive because I'm supposed to be, living up to a biblical standard, I kind of thought it was wrong. Until I kind of started getting older to understand better what was right and what's acceptable. So it was very hard kind of navigating that. And then when something get introduced to you that's new, it's almost like, is that okay to do? I'm a man of faith. I practice my faith. And I think that it's important to me as a person to have that because that's the only thing that's helping me get through these days.
I love that. I love that, how open you are. I think we all do that. We get to a transition in life where we have to go from what we know and what we've been exposed to our future selves. Like that path starts to change. And then you start to question, is this right or wrong?
Right.
And that's when I think you start toying with judgment.
Yes.
Like, am I judging? Am I not? Is this right?
Well,
is this wrong?
And you have to mature in your faith too, because most faiths are practicing peace. That's the whole goal, is to get people to a place of peace. Now, there is some religious things that we do, and that's a part of people's different faiths, whatever your religious belief is. Religious, to me, is like doing something over and over, constant. So if you have a faith and you're doing something over and over that's constant, that is your religious, that helps you practice your faith. And I think that we, as a country, we believe that people should have the ability to practice their faith, whatever it is. And I think that for me, my faith helps me navigate life. And it helps you with your moral compass. And I'm always trying to tweak that. I'm always trying to tweak it in a way, but I always try to remain humble and stick to what I believe and be a servant leader because that's what I'm called to be. So that's I believe that everything that I've gotten is because of faith. The only reason why I'm being rewarded in some of these things and these positions that people see me in is because of my actions in faith that has allowed me to hear. Because I don't believe that any of these things that I've gotten was because I was so great or I was so good. But it was because there's a man upstairs that opens up the door for you.
That's right.
That no man can shut.
Right.
And I know that your promotions don't come from the east, west, north, south. That comes from him up above. And I think that that's how I'm governed.
Right.
Love
it.
So
love it. So let's go into the space as we kind of go through your life. So now we're young adult, and now you decide to go into the army. Was it go into the army? And now you're there. What crystal clear moment did you experience in the army that's really helped shape you today?
The army taught me really discipline. I mean, you get a lot of discipline when you decide to join the armed forces. It taught me how to be a better man. And I was around men that were strong and fearless, and I always I used to watch G.I. Joe when I was a kid. So that was all those things. I did have the toys. I had the toys. I had the tanks. I had everything.
My nephew used to play with those. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And I used to watch the G.I. Joes on Saturday. Yeah. That was my cartoon of choice. And so as well as a lot of other stuff. But that was my cartoon of choice. And, that gave me an opportunity to kind of really say, what type of man do I want to be? And what type of leader do I want to demonstrate to people? And I think these moments where you're evolving, the question is that in the military, they're going to teach you to be, you really have to be, they just teach you about being an American, just being proud.
Did something happen like that you can recall? It was like, wow, this situation happened to me, or this interaction with an officer, or this interaction with a fellow, soldier, like was something specific that you can remember that's like, this is changing the way I think or how I'm showing up. It was a learning moment. It was a crystal clear moment that you made a pivot.
I would tell you honestly, when I served in the military, was there a pivot? The pivot was just being in the military.
I bet.
And the crystal clear moment is that you better get yourself together because there's a real world out there. And I think that that's important to recognize that the military teaches you not to get involved with a lot of these different issues that's happening in the world today. They don't train us that way. We don't see. Like when I look at you, I just see a person who has
no parties, Republican, Democrat, Independent. None of that's going on.
No,
it's
they
just
don't
taking care of the country.
That's not how they train you in the military. They train you to just be about the country, and when the chief executive officer give you the commands to do it, you just do it. So there was an adjustment leaving the military and going into civilian life because now it wasn't like you didn't have a ritual. You didn't have a time that it's time to get up, it's time to do this, it's time to do that. Those are rituals that in the military services they push you to do. When you get out the military, now you have to be able to duplicate some of those things. And I'm going to tell you, civilian life and military life is two different types of lives that you have to live. So the adjustment for a lot of men and service women, there is an adjustment there. But you do what you can and you progress past that.
Yeah, I know. I had a contract with an organization that dealt with men and women transitioning from military life to civilian. I provided some training and coaching to help that. So you're 100% correct. It's a mindset change, and to help them transition to that space and allow our military professionals understand the skill sets they've learned in the military life, how they can transfer over into civilian life.
Absolutely,
because it gets a little gray for them.
It is.
They've been there 20 years and they don't know how those skills transfer over. So that was one of.
And there's a lot of military personnel out there that I do know that don't even acknowledge that they have service, because sometimes military personnel, they have their way of how they navigate things. And so what I would say to anyone that's out there that's in the military or is looking in transition out, what I will always say is seek the resources that you need. Get that support. There's a lot of support out there. The VA is out there. VA.gov is a great place. One of the things I love about going to the VA is being able to know that I can get mental health services, I can get medical services, I can get dental services.
You earned it.
You did earn it.
You've earned
and
that.
A lot of the service-connected injuries that you may have, they are now more open to have discussions like that.
Good.
So I think the military has really evolved and has become a special place to help veterans come along. Because when my dad got back from Vietnam War during that era, it was not a pretty war, and it was not accepted. It was a lot of controversy when I went back to read about what was going on.
Yeah, that was a hairy war.
Yeah, and it was a very unpopular war. Very unpopular. And so I'm thankful that we've moved further along as a country.
I agree. I think my dad experienced the same thing when he came home. He actually shared it with us and he loved the military. He loved supporting our country and fighting for it. He's very proud of it. I mean, he had the flag on his arm as a tattoo. Yeah. Most Marines do. That's a Marine thing. I know it is.
That's going to have Marines.
I know. He was a Marine.
Okay.
But he loved it. So when he came home, he wasn't warm welcoming. And I think it does something to that generation of men.
Well, I think that the flag represents it's a place of pride. The flag, the United States flag, is a banner of excitement. It's a countryman. It's us coming together to rally behind. And I could tell you honestly, there's a lot of different conversations about how our flags is being used.
Yes.
And I could just tell you from a veteran perspective, I only experienced the flag as being a United States of America thing. It's not like a separate thing, or it's not like a you thing or someone else thing. It's a everybody thing. And I can tell you honestly, when you leave this country,
you know the difference. Oh, trust me, I know.
Right away.
You can't wait to get home. As much as you love world traveling, and everyone's traveled the world, there's nothing like the USA.
Oh, nothing like the USA.
Like
oh, yeah.
I get it.
I'm proud to be an American.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm proud to be in this land. Listen, I always tell people, hey, we're just like a family. We're going to have some inner things that we're going to have to work through, and we're still working through those things.
Oh, yes.
But that's what makes us so great, is that we have this diaspora of people that have come here to actually say, I'm proud to be American. We want to move our country forward. And as a veteran, I'm telling you, I'm so proud to have served my country. I'm proud to have did my time, and I'm proud to have moved on.
I know. So thank you for that. Thank you for your contribution to liberty.
Absolutely.
Liberty.
And I encourage everyone, just go out there and do 2 years. If you can, go out there and do 2 years.
I'm not going to do that.
You're not going to do it? Okay.
I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go do that. So was all of that experience, ODs, your crystal clear moment that sort of ignited and took your service to another level, to serving your community by being a politician?
Yeah, well, that is a connection point. So after I served in the military, I went to school, graduated, and
accounting
then
degree, right?
I got an accounting degree, and then I opened up my first business.
Right.
That was a 75 square foot space. I'm sure there's some pictures out there floating around because we was looking crazy.
Did you have hair?
I did have hair.
Did you have an afro? Please don't tell me you had a curl.
No, I had a 360 waist. I had to look.
You was surfing?
Yeah, I was.
Okay,
I was.
Right. You had a surf situation?
Yes.
Okay, I just had to ask that.
Yeah, I lost my hair when I was 26.
Rocking the ball. It's all good. It's all good.
You know? So I could tell you, I did that. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I started my business, it was in accounting, tax prep. And I was able to successfully grow that business. I had some great people around me that was like, hey, we like what you're doing. And while I was in school and finishing up my school and having this business at the age of 20 years old, I was able to successfully grow it to like 35 locations in 7 states.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I know. I did read that. And you and I have talked about that offline, but that is impressive.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, the accounting world is a very interesting world, to say the least. But that's where I found a lot of my success. But that's where I was able to get the interactions between small business owners, individuals, people who have low income, people who have high income, people who have middle class. I almost know every single talking point about every single area, only because of the fact that when you're in this, when you're in the accounting world, my professor told me you're going to do business with everybody. Every
type of individual.
Any type of individual, any type of business, you're going to be doing business with everybody. So this is a bulletproof concept. That's what he told me. He said, stick to the accounting, stick to taxes. Death and taxes will always be continuous in your life.
So what they said, that's recession proof, huh?
It was recession proof.
People always need their taxes done. Always need that. And Sam always wants his cash.
Yeah. And listen, I was able to grow that business. I was able to successfully sell that business to a major competitor. And I could tell you honestly, my competitor, so this is the trick, okay? This is the number one trick. If you want your business to be bought by your competitor, set your business up everywhere your competitor is. Kind of like what Burger King did with McDonald's. McDonald's was going out and laying out the blueprint for where they want to be. Well, then Burger King was like, well, if McDonald's is doing it here, we're going to start setting up our business concept right where there's McDonald's.
Right across the street.
Right. And that's why you have today McDonald's and Burger. If there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King close by.
You're right.
So that was a followed concept. So I followed the same concept. So you have to be a student of business in order to understand these parallels and how to get yourself out there. So if you want to open up a business, find the business that's doing what you want to do, and then you start modeling that behavior. And through that model behavior, you'll then start seeing some success. But what you have to do is you're going to have to answer the question, what makes you different? And what made my accounting business different was when I would go into a new location, I would literally drop my prices. I would drop it down and I would increase my customer service. So that means they would get a soda, coffee, water. So like that same serving mentality I had here, I used to have my clients was like, why do you have Advil, available for anyone over 18 years old to take? I said, well, because if they come in with a headache, I want them to be relieved because I need to work. We got to do these taxes. We got to work through this.
Right.
And taxes is tedious.
That's funny.
So I take that same model.
Some people may need more than Advil.
Oh, I mean, some people need more than Advil. I'm going to tell you, I've helped people who have owed millions of dollars get out of owing millions of dollars. I've helped people. I had a client came in, he owed $7 million. When he got done with me, he owed less than $1 million. There is a difference in when you're looking at accounting, because you may look at your scenario, and most Americans do. They just say, hey, I just have a simple W-2. I just have a simple this. I have maybe a rental property, or maybe I just have like a Schedule A. And they're more so trying to figure out like, it's just something simple. But if you don't approach your tax situation as a strategy, then you would then inherently be in a place of wasteful spending, meaning that you're not even getting all your deductions. You're not getting everything that you're supposed to get. This is why there's billions of dollars that's returned back to the federal government, because these people are not taking advantage of their tax credits. They're not taking advantage of the tax law. And as I always tell people, you want to maximize that. You need to know every credit. So all this TurboTax, and now the government is going to be doing they're going to be allowing people to file their taxes on their own through an AI program or some type of online program. But I want to tell you the one thing you should know is that you're still held accountable.
Yes, you are.
To whatever you put on your tax return.
The accuracy.
The accuracy
and
is
the
important.
Honesty.
And the honesty. And the perceived honesty. The government will work with you if you say, oh, I made a mistake, I didn't know. But it's important for you. You're signing an affidavit that says that underneath perjury and penalties that I actually filed this completely and wholly to the best of my knowledge. And so these days, I get more people reaching out to me because they made errors that's costing them thousands of dollars than it is actual preparation. So people, you may think, oh, I'm going to go online, I'm going to save. It's free.
Yeah.
But when you get messed up, it costs you thousands of dollars. You're $4,000 or $5,000 in a hole the minute you have to fix something.
So numbers matter. Taxes, anything that's around being fiscally responsible is important to you.
Absolutely.
How does that? So now let's kind of walk into your political space, your career. So now we're walking into, what was your crystal clear moment to say, I think I want to run for city council? Like, what happened?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, after the years of service, I felt like it was God. I felt like it was a higher calling. I don't think that you run for this type of role without him being on your side. It was a calling to go higher. I remember when I was a kid, my mom told me that the greatest memory that she has of me is when I was about 10 years old and I was going door to door collecting canned goods with a 3-wheel stroller that's supposed to be 4, but I found it on the side of the trash. And I went out there and collected almost 900 cans with that. Right. She said that's the greatest moment that in her proudest moment that she had of me is when I did that. And
so you were community minded and spirited.
Yeah, my parents was big philanthropists. Yes. They gave, but they believed in working hard, and they did not play. You have to work hard. It's your responsibility to go out there, and no one is stopping you. You're the only one that's stopping you. And so in my approach, my mindset is that I got to work hard for this. I can't go to someone else. Hey, can I get this from you? No, I have to actually go and say, let me work hard. Let me find a way to do this. And so my mom taught me about being a servant leader and implementing that. So that calling then for running for council, that's a part of that compelling argument that he called me to this role. This is why I don't worry about a lot of the different things that happens. God gives me something, and if he chooses to move on from it, God give it, he take it away.
Yes, he will.
And I don't want to sound all holier than thou, but I want to really help people understand my heart. My heart is to serve people. And if the people say we no longer want this, then I'm okay with that. The people said they wanted a king. Israel said, I want a king, I want a king. But then when they finally got a king, then they rejected the king. You know what I'm saying? So my heart is to serve people. And
so this is interesting. So I want to stick here for a little bit, put a pin there. What do you think? What do the people want? I mean, right now, in this day and age, if you're a certain age, take that back. Take the age out of it. Most people know that we are in an age where there's a lot of complex issues and a lot of emotions tied up with those issues. And some people are very angry. Some people are very satisfied. Some people are just very, very whatever. You fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We all can fill in the blank what that is. What do you think, in your opinion, what do the people want? Or are we still figuring it out?
I think it's a combination of both. We're evolving the conversation. I don't think the conversation ever ends. I think we go from one issue to the next issue. And I think that as long as we're keeping the conversations going, that's what matters the most. And that's why it's so important to me to continue to have courageous conversations with individuals. Because although we may not agree on this issue, what's the next issue that we can agree upon?
What are you hearing in those conversations? Are you hearing people are frustrated? Are the people if they're feeling more safe and secure? Like what is?
I'm hearing a little bit of both.
Okay,
I feel like they're frustrated that I could talk from different levels, but I would say they're frustrated because they want our federal government to represent us well, and they want their issues to be represented well, but we can't figure out how to get the federal level to really work together. And so I hear that, and that's that frustration that that people want. I think on a local level, as a person, as the vice mayor of City of Chandler, I think what we're hearing right now is traffic, and we have simultaneous projects going on at the same time, and that is reducing people's quality of life. And so I think those are some issues that we got to get in there and address. And then also we're hearing housing. Housing is becoming one of the most critical issues facing America. There's not enough of it. And the question is, and if there's not enough housing products out there, if we start building, who are we going to build it for? Are we building it for high end? Are we building it for low? Are we building for middle? Who are we building the housing for? And then housing is so expensive right now. And so even with where we start at building it up right now, everything is supply chain, inflation. Inflation is probably one of the biggest things that's facing American people, local people. Inflation is hard. And it has hit people like never before. Seniors can't afford what they need. Veterans are struggling to get what they need. And when you're on these fixed incomes, it doesn't help further the cause. And then we have individual families, single mom, single dad, raising kids, even dual households is struggling and because of the impacts of inflation. So we're in a real situation.
Yeah. And everything you mentioned, I think it's showing up at a city level, but it's also a conversation being held at a federal level. Like every city, if I was in DC, if I was in a city in Iowa, we'll be talking about traffic. Because metropolitan cities are growing. And roads are hopefully they're spending their money and getting their roads fixed. Infrastructure. Housing is an issue, for most metropolitan cities. So a lot of things, senior care and mental health and just supporting our vet, all that I feel like is definitely a part of a conversation like across the country. But as a leader, as a vice mayor, as a leader within this space, what what are your thoughts? Or what's the approach to get our young people excited about the process?
Well, we definitely need to spend more time looking at our youth and looking at it from a perspective of when I meet a 16-year-old person, individual young person, as a person that's elected, I have to also look at this young person as my future voter. You're my future boss. So how do I then go grab you, 16-year-old person, to get you excited about voting and what that means? And let's make sure that you understand this is part of your civic duty as well and the importance of it. And I think what we have to do is continue to build these collaborative partners with our local school districts and say, how can we do a voter registration drive? This year, voter registration is going to be very critical. And I hope that underneath this podcast that we can have something there that says if you're not registered to vote, if you need to be registered to vote.
We'll put a link on there.
Put a link so that way they can click on it. And that way they can start understanding the issues. Now, one of the things that I want everyone to really take case, I'm not here to advocate for me or for any other candidate, but I am here to say, be smart with your vote. There's some
first vote.
Right, first vote.
And then be smart
and
with
then
it.
be smart.
Right.
And being smart means researching. I know that everyone is not going to vote for O.D. Harris. I want everyone to, but I know that that's probably not going to happen. But I do understand that if I can get people just get to that step, then I think that I would have been doing my civic duties, whether I agree with people or not. Just getting you to say, I acknowledge I need to vote. I acknowledge I need to do my civic duties. And if I'm going to cast a vote, let it be a smart vote. Because we got judges, we have local, we have state and federal people got to vote for. You got to be smart with your vote.
So, I do know, and I know that I've seen that, I've read it. I know that you're active, and I think a lot of politicians, hopefully, across the board, see the value of getting in high schools. And I even think we can go a little lower and go into like middle schools and start really getting young people, children and youth understand our process and how it works and how that one vote does count. Because when I fast forward to my young professionals, I'm talking 18 to 39 or 40.
Oh yeah, that's a good age.
That age there, I mean, that's, the largest demographic on the planet is that 18 to 40, that really is the pocket of our future. We have Gen Zs and millennials in there, kind of mixed up. How can we get them excited and pumped up about it? So I have a Gen Z at home and a millennial, and we talk about politics all the time. And we all think different.
Yeah.
I have a baby. My husband's a baby boomer.
Right.
I'm a Gen X. My son's a millennial.
You're not monolithic.
Right. We're not. And then we have a Gen Z.
Right.
And we're all coming to the table with our own, asking how our needs are going to be met, as a vice mayor. And one day, I do believe, you're going to go to even a higher level. I believe that. What are we doing to honor what they're saying and feeling and what they're desiring from us?
Yeah.
I feel part of the solution too.
Oh, absolutely. We have to spend time having these conversations with our youth, and we have to rally them. I think a lot of the youth today feel like they're unheard. They feel like they're the unheard group. This is why you can't get them to go anywhere, because they feel unheard. They feel unsupported. They feel like their needs are not being met. They feel like there's no representation for them. And so why bother? So it's that attitude of why bother? And I think what we have to do as politicians is we have to find ways to corral by doing one or two things. Number one, get in the trenches and get in the circle and say, I'm here to listen. Take off the suit. Matter of fact, let me take off this jacket and put on my t-shirt and my tennis shoes and my shorts and say, let's talk about this thing. Let me try to get some soft introductions by building, if you have children, building those bridges and those relationships so you can then talk. How about you just get educated on what youth is talking about? And what is some of the terminologies they're using in order to, to move things forward. But if I stay in my suit with my tie in that city hall, then I'm never going to reach the next generation.
What do you feel about being called a politician? I've always wondered that.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm not a
think so.
politician.
Right.
I am a community person who serves the
Yeah.
community. I think politicians have the word in terms of poli-sci. I think it's gotten such a bad name. I'm a community person that serves my heart. I try to do what's the right thing to do. And to be honest with you, Crystal, if I don't get it right, I'd rather just be able to allow me the opportunity to have that conversation with you, have that cup of coffee. I'm nowhere near perfect. And I know that the good book has to always taught me to remain so humble. Because if I mess up, I want you to be thinking like, oh, he's pride, he's ego. If I mess up, I got to do better. If I say the wrong thing, even on this podcast, if I say the wrong thing, I got to do better.
Right.
But someone has to educate me. Who educates the person that does something wrong? Who educates me? I'm here to educate you, but who educates me? And it's supposed to be a together thing like, hey, OD, I didn't like how you approached that. You should have approached it this way. Give me that opportunity to get it right, because not only is it about the issue, it's a life lesson. And that's how I look at the conversations going back and forth.
Right.
These are life lessons.
Yes.
You're going to take that away from me because I said something that you just totally turned off, but you don't give me the understanding of how you took that away from me. You did a disservice to me, but also you did a disservice to your community. Because if you got enough relationship with me, you should be able to have that conversation with me.
And see, one thing, but I like a lot of things, but what I love about you is that, I've seen you have those courageous conversations with people, and maybe takes good feedback, and you take that and you turn your lemons to lemonade. And I've seen you go into a tough situation, very humble and open to not real sure how it's going to show out, and you demonstrating courage where a lot of people want to stay in a safe space. I've seen you go into spaces that may not be safe. And I'm not talking about you may not be safe, like they're going to harm you.
Right.
That could happen.
It's the uncomfortable
space.
It's the
uncomfortable. And I see you seeking those.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where I commend you for that, because I think seeking those spaces where things could get hot and sticky is where we learn and grow and stretch. Yeah. And I think politicians don't like that. But I think people who are servants like yourself, that's where you thrive.
Yeah.
So if you could,
because I think it leaves room for improvement. I'm leaving room for improvement. Everybody that's out there in the podcast world, I'm leaving room for improvement in my life. I'm married, but let me tell you, my wife knows, and I know she don't always say, "Oh, you're perfect, OD," in every single way. No, even my wife and I, if we have to have a conversation, we got to have a conversation. Yeah. That's the relationship. That's the relating part. I always say, if I feel so passionate about someone, and if I feel so different, I'm telling everybody, I am so touchable. I can probably be outside this door talking to you right now. I have never turned down a meeting.
I know it's true.
I love people, though.
That I know is true. Yeah.
I love people. I'm a people person. Yeah. I mean,
so I want to ask this question, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you, because
it's all good.
Before I forget, because it's so interesting. OD Council first started, and OD now. What have you learned about yourself that you didn't know before?
Oh my God.
If it was just one thing you can say, I didn't know this about me until I got into this role, until I started serving the people. I didn't know this about me. And, and it could be great stuff, or it could be stuff to make you go, ugh. Your safe space, your comfort. So
I'm a super compassionate person. I did not realize how much compassion I shared, that literally I can listen to someone and I can take that home with me. And I don't release it. I don't leave it at the door where I don't leave it. I take it.
Thanks for sharing that.
And then I try to figure it out and work on it and things like that. And I have to do a better job of, I can be compassionate. I can move into action, but I have to recognize that there's only so many hours, days, minutes, and the things that I feel that is undone, that I want to get done, I actually struggle with forgiving myself. And I have to kind of work through those moments where I feel that I'm not giving myself a fair opportunity to be successful, because every decision I make, I beat myself up, or I feel like I can do better. And I have to recognize that. And that's what I'm learning about myself. So
thank you for being incredibly transparent about that. I really appreciate that. I think that's what makes people love their public servants, is when they are. And I think what you're displaying is what our young people need to see. They want straight up, honest, authentic people who are going to be vulnerable and show themselves. And I think you've demonstrated this, on this podcast. I appreciate it because I really want our young people to be excited about, our whole voting system. No, it's always going to be somebody that you're not going to like, and no one's going to check all the boxes. Yeah. Trust me, no one's going to do that. No. But you got to get in the game.
Yeah, you got to get started somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. And
I don't want everybody to agree. Everyone's not going to agree with me.
No, you got to get in the game. So as we wrap up, because now, again, you're vice mayor and you're going for your second round as a council, and I have my sign in my yard.
Yes, thank you.
So my neighbors see it and they're asking me questions. I love to share, what you're doing and how you're showing up. If you could pick one word that defines you in this space that you're in, what would that be?
Purpose.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, purpose is, I've done, if the good Lord wanted to take me right now, I would have felt that I've done everything that I need to do in my life. I am happy. I got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful family. I have a beautiful career. I've been very successful in my life. I've done everything that I wanted to do. And I'm satisfied with where I am. So I am on purpose.
Well, thank you. Thank you, OD. Vice Mayor OD, thank you. Yes. I appreciate you for coming on. And, everyone, I will have a link where you can, go in and you can click and you can look at, where to register and anything about voting.
Yes.
Please do. I think it's important at all levels, city all the way up to the federal space. It's important that you do. I also appreciate the fact that, you're very open and transparent. So please download the podcast.
Yes, download it now.
Like it and leave comments. I appreciate you. And guys, thank you so much for supporting Crystal Clear Moments, and have a great day. Bye-bye.